Good evening, everyone, from North Power Stadium in Gosford on a pleasant evening where the Northern Eagles are at home tonight to the Canberra Raiders. Let's look at the two sides, and first of all, the home side, the Northern Eagles. And we find there's just one late change. And again, Nathan Long is out with a calf injury, and his place on the interchange bench will be taken by Wade Forrester. The coach of the Northern Eagles is Peter Sharp. Visitors tonight are the Canberra Raiders, and there's just one minor change in their starting lineup. We see that Greg Wolfgram comes from the interchange bench to start in the centres. Joel Monaghan goes back to the bench, and the coach of the Raiders is Matthew Elliott.
Okay, let's go.
The Eagles running from the southern end. The Eagles to kick off. Only a small crowd on hand, as it's going to be that man Luke DeVico who'll bring it back. I'm sure he would have been just happy to have got that first hit up underway.
Oh,
his
very
first
much
touch
so.
of the football.
Would have settled the nerves, and I guess he will struggle a little bit tonight with his fitness. Of course, his first game back, so it'll be interesting to see how far Luke can go in this game.
Given away by McClendon to Jason Croker, as he did last week, standing out wide, attacking out wide, and can be a real handful, Jason Croker. Terry Martin. I agree with you, Glenn Lazarus. I thought he was their outstanding player last week. Had a terrific game against Brisbane.
Inside. Stay 10 there, Luke.
Kick being put downfield by Brett Finch. Taken by Lenny Beckett. Good chase, though, by Canberra. It was really led by James Evans. Ruben Wiki going in to help him. As immediately they go wide, the Eagles, with Hopper Whitey getting out wide and throwing it to Luke Dawn standing hit on his outside, but then the ball dropped by Albert Torrance.
Raked out. Raked out, Greg.
The reason it was dropped, that it was raked out by Canberra, so the first penalty of the game goes the way of the Northern Eagles. Oh, gee. I think that's a harsh penalty. Look, surely, I know it's a grey area, this raking the ball out, but surely the player running with the ball security has to mean something.
The thing that annoys me, I guess, but is disappointing is that players are being penalised for good work. Now, their coaches are going out and saying, you know, gang tackle, wrap that ball up, and the ball comes out and they're being penalised for it.
Here's another player who it's great to see back, Nick Kosef, the player who has had four knee reconstructions. It is amazing. So good to see you back, Nick. Hope you have a good game tonight. Across field goes Kosef and gives his pass back for David Wesley, a former Canberra Raider. In fact, there are 4 players in the Eagles squad tonight who have at some stage played for the Raiders. Now given away by Dawn. Got some talent, Luke Dawn. This is him again. Now he'll use the kick, putting it across field, out towards Lenny Beckett's wing. Ball bouncing on the ground, still loose. It's going to be dived on, in fact, dived on by Ben McDougall.
I just want to check the grounding and whether or not a bloke was taken out.
Ben McDougall has dived on it. He's claiming the try, but the referee wants to check both the grounding and whether a player was taken out as they went for that ball after the kick by Luke Dawn.
Well, what a way it would be to finish off a great set of 6 tackles for the Eagles. They've taken it down about 50 or 60 metres, and I think one of the most surprising things about the whole lot was after being thrashed last week, they were quite determined to spread the ball wide. They did it and made plenty of territory, a perfectly placed kick. Kick it up there. Well, do your best. I don't think there's any reason there, Glenn, unless there's something that he's been pushed aside.
Yeah, I think Michael Robinson has been pushed aside, but he certainly grounds the ball okay. So I guess it's just a matter of not working out whether they've...
Well, he may have been pushed aside, but if the players were going for the ball and had their eyes on the ball and were legitimately going for the ball, then that's okay.
Yeah, I think both clubs have got reason for complaint here. I think you've got to say that he's been pushed a little bit, but at the time that he was pushed aside, you've got to say that Steve Menzies' eyes were on the ball the whole way across.
I think that's a fair try anyway. John Gosher is the video referee tonight. He's the man who will make the decision as to whether this is the first try, and a confidence boost it would be for the Northern Eagles and Ben McDougall. Hasn't been a good week for the McDougall family, with the terrible news that Adam McDougall, of course, has done his knee. But John Gosher Making his decision now, taking some time about it, so he must have some doubts. No try and a penalty.
Ruben, over here.
Well, all I can
The
say is
penalty
just,
up here. Ruben.
if I'm ever going to have a bet on something,
Penalty here.
just push me away from the police. I'm going to lose $1 million.
Oh, big Peter Peters there, the media manager for the Eagles, along with Cliffy Lyons. I think they are rather amazed, as are most of the crowd, in fact. But John Gosher deciding that the player had been taken out, so the penalty goes the way of the Canberra Raiders. Luke DeVico, tackle 15 inside his own territory. Ball to be played by Michael Hodgson. Wolford brings it back onto the short side for Ruben Wiki, who gets it 8 metres inside Eagles territory. Finch, turn back for Terry Martin.
Away. Now.
On the 40-metre mark, Wolford distributes. Finch, almost through a gap goes Finch. Was unable to unload his pass. The ball has now gone loose. Came off Hodgson and went loose. So an Eagles ball, and they're 25 metres out from their own line.
Well, a great set by the Raiders there, and I got a feeling that Michael Hodgson was tackled before he actually received that ball. The ball's come loose. The Eagles have it now, and they're getting out of their own area.
John Hopawate. In centre field, Hopawate driven to ground by Martin, getting in low. Croker was over the top to assist in the tackle. Jason King.
Mark, to me. Not even close, mate.
Mark McLinden.
He knows it.
Mark McLinden, the penalised player. Getting a little bit of a verbal from his captain too, Simon Wolford, who wasn't happy about that. About giving away the penalty. Late in the tackle count. And the kick by Luke Dawn is a good one, and so they'll start this set up inside the 20. Having had 1 try denied already, the Northern Eagles. There's 2 balls on the field at the moment. 1 cleared away by Jamie Goddard, and now the tap can be taken. Wesley. 12 metres from the line, does well. Unloaded his pass to Kosef, and then it came away to Jason King. Straightens up, did well to get it back to Jamie Goddard, trying to get his way through. Now to Reeves. Reeves gave it to Ferris. It was well read in defence, though. Well read by James Evans, who does defend well for Canberra. He realised they were in desperate trouble. Here's McDougall. Been denied 1 try tonight, Ben McDougall. Evans again making the tackle. Goddard shuffles it across to Ferris. Now it goes wide to Dawn. Dawn almost shepherded, but no player taken out. And the referee ruled accordingly. Kosef on the short side. Pushing his way through is Elder Torrance. He's very close to the line. Hopawate distributes from dummy half. Dawn puts in the little rubber kick for Reeves to chase and got it down, Brendan Reeves.
Sweet.
This time there's no doubt about the try. Fullback Brendan Reeves is the try scorer under the post, and it is now 4-0 with a kick to come to the Eagles.
Well, we mentioned as the Eagles took the field, man under the microscope. And hasn't he played a huge part in the game so far? Dawn, he's come up with 4 kicks in the game. Every one of them have been with pinpoint accuracy. Won 4 tackles earlier than that, gained 30 metres from a penalty. You can't get him much better than that, Glenn.
No, a wonderful set of 6 there by the Northern Eagles. Some wonderful second phase football was being played, and you would be forgiven for thinking that it was the Northern Eagles that had won by 68, the way they're throwing this football around. And I guess that was the reason why Simon Wolford blew up for that penalty. You just can't allow sides like this with attacking prowess. As Luke Dawn, is it? No. Jason Ferris kicks the goal, but sides like the Northern Eagles with the Menzies and the Dawns in it, you just can't allow them to get up in your area with cheap penalties.
So 6 points to 0 it is in favour of the Northern Eagles. I was impressed by Luke Dawn calling that game a fortnight ago. His first grade debut against the Sydney Roosters. He probably did a couple of things that would have made Peter Sharp pull out a couple more hairs that he hasn't got many to pull out these days, Pete. But what he did do was show an enthusiasm. And you know that he's got talent, and he was prepared to use it. The exuberance of youth, I guess you call it, Lazo. He has got some talent, Luke Dawn. And that is a great fillip for the Northern Eagles. Just the start that they needed. Given away by Dawn, now shuffled out wide to Stephen Menzies, getting through a gap. Oh, well, again, shut down by Evans. Wesley can unload it past David Wesley, as we've seen already tonight. Nick Kosef, hard run by him. Wiki tackles him 10 metres inside Raiders territory. Ferris, wide pass this time to Dawn. Out to Hopper Wate. Was able to get his pass back then to Brad Kelly, another former Raider.
Too early. You get up, you play the ball properly.
Penalty against the attacking side, against Brad Kelly for not having played the ball correctly.
It couldn't have come at a better time for Canberra. You see here, Brad Kelly goes to ground. Well, I don't know about that. I think he had every right to play that football, but Canberra just aren't able to handle the Northern Eagles' second phase. They must lock that ball up or they're in for a long night.
So the penalty count, 4 penalties in the opening few minutes of this game. 2 each way it is. If they thought that the Northern Eagles, after their drubbing that they got last week, were going to be easy meat tonight, well, they've had to rethink, because it really is the Eagles who've dominated so far. Wolford, now to Finch, putting it into a lovely gap. Here goes Finch, he's got support, left and right, couldn't get it away though. Dragged to ground by Luke Dawn in a try-saving tackle. Quickly away to Clinton Schifofsky. He kicks ahead for Evans to chase. Up above the pack he goes, can't take it. Knocked forward by Evans, picked up by the Northern Eagles. And Ben McDougall comes up with it for the home side.
I just think the Raiders need to be patient. They've just been very basic as far as getting out of their own end is concerned. The tries will come. The Northern Eagles are certainly showing signs of tiredness, I guess, around the middle of the ruck. So if the Raiders can have some patience, I'm sure the tries will come.
Hopper Wate going back in to do a little bit of the heavy work in the middle for the Northern Eagles. And Kosef, he's worked hard so far, Nick Kosef, in his comeback to first grade football. Goddard, as we said, leading the stats for the most metres gained by a dummy half in the competition this year. Here's Stephen Menzies, kicks ahead, and it's going to find touch eventually. Clinton Schifofsky just waited, and eventually into touch it went. 6 points to 0 it is, in favour of the Northern Eagles. The Raiders will work this scrum. Yes, just going back to the crowd, there were a lot of suggestions that in fact this could be the lowest crowd on record. Well, it's a long way past that. Our stats man Ian Collis tells us the lowest on record was the famous Noel Kelly's last game for Wests against Penrith in 1967 in the rain at Penrith Park when there were 350 people. So
get in the scrum and just relax, right?
I don't think that's really in danger of being beaten for a long time. Wolfgram trying to use his speed and get out wide and gives it away to Graham. Hopawati, though, came across, made sure that he couldn't get on the outside of him, and then the tackle completed by Dawn. The Raiders just over halfway as Luke DeVico gets a spell, his first of the night. But he'll be just happy to be back into football, Luke DeVico. Finch giving it away to Wiki, tries to fend off Menzies. Terry Martin to play it. 1 metre inside the Eagles' territory. McClendon. Dummies to Croker. Picks up Wolf Graham. The fence, though, slides well. And once more, it's Luke Dawn who makes the tackle. Croker. Tackle number 5. Final tackle coming up for the Raiders. Schifofsky comes into the line. Now sets himself and puts up the high midfield bomb. Came off Terry Martin, he'll get it. But it was on the last, he knocked it on anyway. The changeover and Brendan Reeves plays it.
Gee, I think a point that really stood out for the Raiders on that occasion was there just wasn't any organisation whatsoever on the 4th or the 5th tackle. They were looking for a clearing kick. Obviously on the last one, 2 players were a little bit confused by it. Unfortunately, they had a prime attacking position that went to waste.
This is Lenny Beckett playing it on his own 30. McDougall in field. Brendan Reeves runs from dummy half the Eagles fullback. Last tackle now coming up for the home side, the Northern Eagles. Spun away by Finch, then away to Dawn. That kick came off Wolf Graham.
You're in front of him, Jason. Jace, you're off here. You're in front of him, buddy.
Well,
I don't think he saw it.
I was just going to say exactly the same thing. I don't think Jason Croker realised what had happened.
No, he'd committed himself. That was a great chase. He'd put in about 10 or 15. Well, he actually was looking back, wasn't he? Might have been hoping that the referee didn't actually see it.
Well, maybe he was thinking it was an accidental.
Accidental, hadn't been played out intentionally.
Exactly right. But just again, just some wonderful commitment there from Simon Walford, Jason Croker to charge down there and try and block the kicks. But unfortunately, the luck went against him on that one.
This is Wade Forrester in 18, called into the side as a late replacement when Nathan Long was again forced out through injury. Ferris to Reeves, inside to McDougall. Caught by Wiggy, made to lose the ball.
Zero.
Tyron Smith to play it.
Yep.
Hodgson. 28 metres out from his own line. Evans.
Wait. Keep coming. Get up. Get up.
Tyron Smith.
With the foot, Ryan.
Ryan O'Hara. Up the middle goes Mark McLinden and almost got through. Gets 10 metres inside the Eagles half. Michael Robertson didn't quite know where to run it, then elected to put a kick in, sending Brendan Reeves back to his own try line. Robertson chases, lost his footing the first time, then the pass comes away to Lenny Beckett. Beckett straightening up and almost ran through the entire Raiders side. Schifowski in the last line of defence got him with a desperation tackle. Here's Menzies keeping the ball alive. Given away by Beckett. Wide pass on the bounce. It goes to Dawn. Then inside to Torrens. Albert Torrens tackled on halfway. Hopawate. Ferris misses out Menzies. On to McDougall.
Get off.
35 metres out, Ben McDougall plays the ball. Ferris, again whipped away across field from Nick Kosef. Wide pass out to Torrens. Torrens almost got through the tackle of Phil Graham. Desperately came a second time to hold on to him. Luke Dawn, the little kick, chipping it ahead and into the in-goal area, taken on the full by Brett Finch. Runs it back out to the 20 to restart.
Probably the only kick that he hasn't been able to brag about the whole night so far. But I'm sure that there's signs, I think, at the moment there, Glenn, that the Raiders officials will be a little bit disturbed about. Every time the Eagles are taking the ball, they're making about 50 or 60 metres.
This is Ryan O'Hara.
And Molly, that the reason, or part of the reason for that, is the fact that their fifth and last options just aren't structured. Michael Roberts got the ball on the fifth and last and thought, why have I got the ball? So he's put in a kick and they've run the ball back 50 metres because no one really knew what was going on.
Back to Brendan Reeves. Let me put the question to both Lazo and Wally. Taking nothing away from the Northern Eagles, but there just to me doesn't seem to be anywhere near the intensity in the Raiders lineup that there was last week against the Broncos, and that's probably a point we made earlier, Wally. Sometimes you can be built up for one game as they do against Brisbane. It's hard to build yourself up the next week, even when you're playing the side down near the bottom. The Northern Eagles through Goddard. Forrester.
And of course, the other thing to that, John, is the way they lost that game. I got no doubt the Raiders felt that they played well enough to win it, and they were beaten with 2 minutes to go from a kick, which obviously lost them game by 2 points. So to get up off the floor and regroup for the Northern Eagles.
Luke Dawn kicking ahead into the in-goal. Clinton Schifowski
would have been a bit difficult, I think.
Yeah. And they are just playing, well, as I said, nowhere near the intensity that they had down at Canberra Stadium last week against the Broncos.
John, this young bloke, he's had a wonderful kicking game. We just mentioned a couple of minutes ago that there was only that one kick that, of course, was caught behind the in-goal line to start with a 20-metre restart. But his kicking game has been fantastic so far. The weight and direction that he has really belies the 19 years that he has. Of course, a former Australian schoolboy, but he's been in terrific form, and also the way that he's able to control the attacking options out wide, doing that very well for a young man.
David Wesley on the kick return. Tackle number 1 is made on the Canberra 30. With the Eagles leading by 6 points to 0 over the Raiders, and they've certainly dominated. This is Hopawate, giving them a hell of a lot of trouble to put him down. They can't get him down. Eventually they do. They had to use up a lot of petrol to get him onto the deck. Nick Kosef. He's playing well, Kosef. Every time he goes to the line, he's also giving them trouble. Dawn away to Ferris, short pass to Wade Forrester. Oh, it was a lovely pass. The halves working beautifully, and Wade Forrester runs off the pass to score. Second try to the Eagles, and they lead 10-0.
And once again, they've really targeted their attack very well, the Northern Eagles, deciding to run at some of the smaller men in the Canberra Raiders outfit. Brett Finch was the man that they targeted, ran to the line, a very good play. What was also quite important about it was Steve Menzies. He was there as a second man for the option.
This try coming on off the back of our first back-to-back set of 6. A wonderful kick put into the in-goal by Luke Dawn, and just a little bit of pressure put on the defensive line of the Canberra Raiders. And the thing there, Wade Forrester had a ton of momentum where Brett Finch, was just standing there, and well, Wade Forrester's a lot bigger than him, and the inevitable was going to happen, which was Wade Forrester breaking through and scoring the try.
Yeah, the halves for the Northern Eagles. This man, Jason Ferris, and his 5'8" Luke Dawn, both playing very well. It was just a sweetly timed pass by Jason Ferris to put Wade Forrester away. And Ferris the chance to take his side out to a lead of 2 converted tries, which he certainly does. No mistake with the kick by Jason Ferris. Good lead for the Northern Eagles. Who would have believed it? One side having 68 points racked up against them last week, and the Canberra Raiders unluckily beaten by one of the season's heavyweights, the Brisbane Broncos. Yet midway through, or over midway through the first half, it's the Eagles in front by 12-0, and deservedly in front by that score.
This game, I think, is going to be won by the side that is the most mentally prepared side, I think. Would have been hard for the Raiders to get off the ground after such a close loss to the Broncos. On the other hand, you get beaten by 60 points. All you want to do is get to next week and hopefully make amends for it, and that's what the Northern Eagles look like they're going to do. Look like they're trying to do. Anyway.
I guess when you get 68 points against you, Lazo, you think you've hit the bottom of the barrel. The only way's up.
Well, that's right, and I guess the whole side was embarrassed, and they would have trained very well this week, knowing that they had an opportunity to erase that memory and come out and play well against Canberra, and that's what they're doing.
Torrens. Out of dummy half goes Albert Torrens. Marcus just laid off him for a few moments, and he picked up about 8 metres.
Last one, Marcus, straight.
Jamie Goddard to play it on the 5th. Forrester, the try scorer, unloads his pass. Dawn bats it across field for Reeves. They're on the last. Back it goes to Dawn. He was under pressure, but got his kick away. In the end, turns out to be a good kick. Phil Graham had to race back to get it. And now the defence line comes up, and they'll meet him just outside his own 20.
Great kick under pressure there. It ended up nearly being a 40-20. A wonderful kick there by Luke Dawn.
Graham plays the ball. Down the blind side comes Todd Payton.
3. Set it. Hold. Now.
From Wolford. Now given away to Finch.
4. Keep coming, Nick.
Ruben Wiki to play it. Finch.
Last one off, Nick.
Tackled on number 5. 35 metres out in centre field, the Raiders. They need to be the side to score next. Here's the kick by McClendon. Bounces awkwardly for Hopawate, but he does pick it up inside his own 10. Now tries to clap on the speed across field. Bumped away from Todd Payton.
Clearing, Simon.
Eventually taken to ground by Ryan O'Hara.
Todd.
Of course, earlier on the week, his coach, Peter Sharp, asked the New South Wales selectors not to forget Hopper. He believes that he's playing well enough to be considered.
Hold.
And I'm sure he's looking for a big game out here tonight.
Mel Kafusi, his first touch in first grade, making his debut tonight. The brother of the West Tigers player, Lupina Kafusi. So
Get off, Ruben.
Glad you said that, not me, John.
thank you, Lazo. You can say it from here on in. Brad Kelly. Just short of halfway, Kelly to play it.
Come on, Todd, I want you there.
Dawn.
Outside.
The kick by Dawn will find touch. Won't be a 40-20 though.
Outside.
He was outside of the 40.
Yep. Yeah, mate.
And we saw a wonderful kicking game displayed by Joey Johns last night, and that was a deliberate kick off the side of the boot, had the arc going, and it was definitely going to go out there.
His kicking game has really been a feature of this match so far, Luke Dawn.
In you go.
He's made sure that every time he's kicked, it's been well positioned. They've gained a lot of territory from it with a good chase. And again, the first tackle is made on Canberra inside their own 20. Here's the second, and they're just over the 20 now. Ball pushed back, picked up by Ruben Wiki. Ryan O'Hara.
Second grab. I've called tackled. You've had a second go at him. Leave it alone.
So Canberra can do with this penalty. Holding down penalty, just going in a second time. And they have been under the hammer somewhat. As it's Kafusi who came in over the top with the second tackle that drew the penalty from Tony Archer. As Nick Kosef, who started well in his comeback game for the Eagles, takes a well-deserved breather. But the Raiders, their chance to attack now. They need a try. They're up on the 30. Ruben Wiki was supposed to be the first receiver. He lost his footing and it had to then go to Clinton Shivkovsky. Simon Wolford pushed away from one. Got it away to Todd Payton. Payton gets to only 5 metres out from the line. Now the chance for the Raiders. From Wolford. Then it goes to Finch. On to Tyron Smith. Going into a gap himself. From McLinden, onto the short side to Wolfgram. Final tackle coming up for the Raiders. Now thrown back across field to Finch. He uses the crossfield bomb. Robertson goes for it, couldn't take it. Flicked back inside by Evans. They tried that last week and it came up with a try for them against Brisbane. Doesn't do so tonight. Steve Menzies gets it for the Northern Eagles.
Well, that's about the third time the Canberra Raiders have done that. It's obviously something they've seen on the tape where they feel the Northern Eagles might be lacking there, and it's come off pretty well. Sorry, it hasn't come off all that well, as we see an injury here.
And this is Mel Kafusi.
Well, that could be a little bit of a question as how high the tackle went.
Hey, just leave it. John, if you get a look.
Well, he certainly pulled up pretty quick, didn't he? Ran in there. Well,
Hey, Jason.
it looked like the bump.
Go through, right? So leave it
Maybe
right out.
a second play will tell us, but it looked like the real smash, the contact that was made.
Well, there was certainly no swinging arms, was there?
No.
He did fall into,
Let's just leave it.
certainly did fall forward into
John,
Wolford's
anything?
arm, but it looked like he was already in a little bit of strife at that stage.
May have been just
Smith's shoulder charge.
the shirt front from Tyron Smith.
Yeah, and the referee and of course the video, the referee making the decision that was exactly what happened. A golden opportunity provided for the Raiders.
McLinden on to Ruben Wiki. Wiki is stopped 10 metres out from the line. Quick play the ball. McLinden goes himself. No support with him.
Defence Eagles number up.
Played back to Wolford, and they go left to Jason Croker.
Knock on.
Lost the ball, Croker, and knocks it on. Only 3 metres out from the line, so nothing going right for the Raiders.
Yeah, they're certainly not playing with the intensity that they had last week, and that's just unfortunate there. I think Jason was entitled to hang on to that footy. They need to regroup the Raiders. They've had a couple of opportunities and have come up with nothing.
Get in. Don't put the ball in. Hey. Get in.
They just need something to inspire them a little bit, I think. A couple of good tackles or a good long run by one of their teammates just to get them back and focused on winning this footy game.
Here's Menzies bringing it outside his own 20.
Wait there.
Ran into a good tackle from Ryan O'Hara. Kafusi, who's recovered from that knock and makes a break. Mel Kafusi gets to halfway, had support on the inside in Luke Williamson. He just couldn't get the pass to him. Hurt again in the tackle.
Oh, he is a big unit.
Take the ball off him, Jason.
Smashed his
Jamie,
way through.
Jamie.
I don't know whether it was a tackle that hurt him or the 45-metre run. Certainly, he's been one of their most destructive attackers. Boy, didn't he take off?
Third tackle. Away you go.
Carrying the ball in the correct hand. Oh, that's what's done the damage. Fallen backwards.
Yeah, the tackle by Jason Croker. He's just hit his head and hit it heavily as he's landed on the ground. So they're a man short in defence at the moment with Kafusi down injured as Todd Payton starts to run and gets it over halfway. Kafusi is back onto his feet, but still very ginger at the moment. Here's Tyron Smith taking on the line. Can't get through, though. O'Hara
Hands off.
up to the 30. Kafusi still in the hands of the trainer, so they are still a man short in defence, the Eagles. Shifkovsky.
Held there. Straight.
From Payton on to Wiki. Then it comes to Evans. He's up to the 20. Bounces out to Finch. Back onto the blind side comes Brett Finch. Final tackle coming up for the Raiders. 18 metres out from the line. What do they do on the last? Chifovsky rolls it straight ahead for McLinden to chase, but it's going to be very easy meat
Clear, Jason.
for the Northern Eagles. Albert Torrens comes up with it just out from his own line.
Tyron.
12-0 it is in favour of the Eagles. Brendan Reeves playing it inside his own 20.
3. Stand up, Marcus.
Williamson
Wait here.
would have scored a try had Kafusi been able to get that pass away to Luke Williamson after he made that break a few moments ago. He would have been away for sure. Now, here's a problem as far as the Eagles are concerned. Luke Dawn injured and limping in back play. He's gone out onto the wing. The kick by Reeves, but he really is in trouble, Luke Dawn. Well, I was going to say he's limping. He's not limping, he's just hobbling. In fact, he's a passenger, and what they'll have to do, you would think here, Canberra, is run their attack back down Canberra's left, straight at Luke Dawn. There he is. They'd have to get him off, you would think.
Leave the leg.
Well, Canberra's attack has been very unorganised, so I can't imagine they'd be organised enough at the moment to go down that left-hand side. But for the Northern Eagles, the difference between the two sides is Luke Dawn's kicking game. So let's say for Eagles fans' sake and the team that he's okay.
Now they go out that way, McLinden, but he's shut down. Dawn still out on the wing and still hobbling.
Great, that's it.
Joel Monahan off the interchange bench. From Wolford. Back in field it comes to Finch. Uses the kick, it'll go across field though to Hopawate. Well, I've got to say, I can't believe that. Not once did they try and run it at him, and they had a player who was just an absolute crock, and they didn't try him out once.
Well, I think that kick from Brett Finch was deliberately aimed at Luke Dawn there, but he just didn't get the length that he was looking for. Went straight to Hopawate.
The Eagles are 15 short of halfway. Wade Forrester, good hard run by Forrester, almost gets it up to the halfway mark. Here's Kafusi again. He's a hard man to take
He's
that.
magnificent so far.
Another great run, Mel Kafusi. Away from Goddard, then it goes on to Ferris.
Hold.
They're just outside the 20, the Eagles. Now across to Reeves. Brendan Reeves sets himself and kicks ahead. Batted back by Torrens. Picked up by Dawn. He's recovered from that knock and recovered quickly and then gets his pass away to Goddard. Goddard rolls it into the in goal and too deep.
Yeah, mate.
Well, I think the Canberra bench are going to have to get some very sharp messages out there. Kafusi is really tearing holes through the middle of the Raiders' defence. He's a very powerful player. All the strength of him, of course, between the knees and the waist. They've got to get somebody to try and pick him off from dummy half. They're in real strife at the moment. They just don't seem to have any organisation.
Well, not only no organisation in attack, but they're just allowing the Northern Eagles to get out too easily. As we see a wonderful
Straight
catch.
into the clutches of Brad Kelly. He took it brilliantly. He's chased by Clinton Chifovsky. Tries to get away from him. Good work by the fullback.
Oh, great tackle there.
Terrific tackle, Clinton Chifovsky. That was a try for all monies. It still may be given by Goddard. Now to Reeves. Reeves gives it away to Menzies. He'll score. Steve Menzies scores. But if, like basketball, you were giving assists, the assist goes to Brad Kelly, but give some credit too to Clinton Schifkowski.
Well, strangely, one of the better defenders this evening sadly read that one. I guess you've got to say that that's just, well, it's a great catch, but there's also a little bit of fortune involved with it. Terrific to see Clinton Schifkowski's chase, but it was very badly read on this occasion from Wolfgram. They shifted the ball out to the wide. You can just out wide. You can just see the way that he was just stood up on 2 feet. Menzies did it perfectly. Had a look where he was, and then angled back inside.
Well, when you play with enthusiasm, those things happen. The ball's kicked into you, you hang on to it, and you're down here, and a couple of tackles later you score a try. Yeah, I do agree there. Greg Wolfgram certainly didn't read that. But what a wonderful angle Steve Menzies ran there to score his 124th try.
Oh, great record. As far as forward scoring tries, second only to Frank Burge, one of the legends of rugby league in its very early days. And Steve Menzies up to try 124. Jason Ferris kick. Successful 3 from 3, and it's 18 points to 0 in favour of the Northern Eagles. Just under 4 minutes out from half-time.
Well, I think the Canberra side will be doing some soul-searching at half-time. Again, they're just not controlling the footy. They don't have any organisation. But it's in defence where I think they're lacking. They're allowing this Northern Eagles side too much yardage and allowing them to get out of their own half too easily.
Who would have believed that scoreline? It's the biggest comeback since you, Lazarus. 18-0 in favour of the Eagles.
That's about the 1 millionth time I've heard that. But
well, it is.
Anyway, John.
Amazing score. 18-0. The Raiders, who played just so well last week, and the Eagles, who were appalling. And it's 18-0 in favour of the Northern Eagles. And Chad Randall comes on, making his debut, as we said, the son of the Manly great, the hard man himself, Igor Terry Randall. Your hero, was he what?
I grew up always wishing to be half as good as that bloke, I can tell you. One of the greatest defenders ever to play rugby league.
Yeah, that he certainly was. Every tackle he made, the bloke on the end of it knew he'd been tackled. Kick ahead by Luke Dawn. Another brilliantly placed kick by this youngster. Sends Clinton Schifkowski back to his own try line, and Dawn chasing through makes the tackle. Good work by the youngster. His kicking has just been one of the real features of the first half of this game.
Chad.
And once more it's the Raiders having to work it out from their own 20. Played back by Evans, now Robertson.
Last one. Inside.
Kick driven downfield. Goes straight into the clutches of Lenny Beckett. Beckett confronted by Wolfgram and Evans. They tackle him 35 metres out from their own line, the Eagles. Reeves goes up the blind side and almost caught them napping.
Straight, Marcus.
Pass that was very flat to Wade Forrester from Chad Randall. Randall runs up to be the dummy half for the Eagles. Now to Ferris. Pass over the top to pick up a running Luke Dawn. Then it goes through Hopawala inside to Kelly. Almost busted them again, Brad Kelly. Dawn to the line. Oh! Luke Williamson. Absolutely smashed by Luke DeVica.
Get that into your knowledge.
That is one of the bell ringers of the season.
Well, that may be what the Canberra Raiders need. Some inspiration, and Luke DeVica has delivered. That is one of the best hits I've ever seen.
Remember me from training.
Yeah, old teammates from Canberra, the two Lukes. Give him his credit though, Luke Williamson. He's up, he's in the hands of the trainer. Oh, most players, you'd say they can just stay down as long as they like after that. Here's DeVico after that hit, brings it back to the 30. That may be just the inspiration they need, Canberra, to get them going as McLinden across field, dummies to Croker, then is able to turn his pass Joel Monaghan will play it inside the 20. Finch. Away across field to DeVico on the last, kept alive to Phil Graham, still on the last. Graham gets it back to O'Hara in desperation. He flicks it up, hoping there'd be a green jersey there. The only one to get it though was Wade Forrester. As the hooter goes for half-time, and at half-time, yes, that score is correct. The Northern Eagles 18, the Canberra Raiders 0. Restart for the second half, taken by Clinton Chifkovsky. 18 points to 0 it is in favour of the Northern Eagles, and this man's had a wow of a first half. Mel Kafusi. Immediately they go wide from Reeves and on to Menzies. Tackle made by James Evans. So they're prepared to stretch them early on, just believing that there's obviously a few defensive problems for Canberra if they can get the ball out wide.
Well, I think it's exactly why they do it, John. They spread the ball wide to both wings and they make sure that Canberra's defence has to stretch wide. All of a sudden then they attack up the middle or just on the edge of the rucks and they find huge holes.
Hold, Jace. Hold. Now.
Randall. Chad Randall uses the little kick and it will find touch. Picks up a very easy 18 metres and gets touch inside the Canberra Raiders 20.
I wonder if his father ever did anything like that. Wally, you'd know.
I probably did. If he didn't, people wouldn't be game to tell him not. I still regard him as the greatest tackler I've ever seen in rugby league, the best hit man. It was probably 20 years before it ever came in. But Glenn, they're in a little bit of strife at the moment, Canberra. We noticed that their biggest problem has been their organisation and attack. How do they settle that?
In fact, well, just going back to the kicking, if my memory serves me correctly, wasn't it in the grand final between Manly and the Sharks in the late 70s that Terry Randall put up a bomb of which Manly scored a try?
They're up and unders, weren't they, in those days?
I think he did, actually, so maybe he did have some kicking skills as well. Anyway, it's the Raiders, near halfway. Comes across field from Finch. McClendon kicks
John,
ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. That was another classic example there. Fifth tackle. There was no organisation in the Raiders kicking game. It came to Finch. He didn't know whether he was going to kick it or whether the ball was supposed to be transferred on to Chifkovsky.
Hoppleway got it away to Torrens. Albert Torrens almost through, run down from behind, and the tackle of Graham. But they're on a roll. Here goes Randall. Now across field to Williamson. Does well to unload his pass to Beckett. Kept alive straight up the centre of the field they come. They're playing well and playing with confidence. Played back by Kafusi from Randall, then given away to Ferris. They're 35 metres out from the line, the Eagles. Dawn to the line he goes, and then the pass to pick up Reeves.
It's become fairly trendy these days to run some decoy runners and then throw the ball in behind them. We saw there the Eagles actually ran 2 decoy runners in, but the Raiders' defence was very smart there. They just adjusted off, and it was, in the end, a knock on to Albert Torrens.
Let's bind together.
Mark McClendon will work this scrum for the Raiders on their own 30. Clinton Chifkovsky coming in to be first receiver from fullback.
You're off, mate.
Finch out of dummy half.
That's 2.
Wolford, that head of his heavily strapped. And this pass went forward.
Hey! Come over here. No, I don't care. No. Yeah, listen. Mal, out here.
Mel Kafusi to be called out.
No trouble.
Yeah, okay.
Every time we went to I know. Yeah, I know. He's a young bloke. Yeah. Jason Croker didn't go across the line then, so let's scoot the rubbish out. Hey? All game he's been looking for. Hey, I'm looking after it, okay? Let's line together. Let's go in. That's it. Let's go in.
I just noticed that Simon Wolford, he actually ran at the big fella too. The reason the pass might have drifted forward just a fraction was that he had a man twice his size and went running at him. Mightn't have been doing it all game.
The Eagles, 10 inside Canberra's territory. Hopewade did well to get it away to Randall. Williamson gave his pass, then on to Ferris. Coming back inside goes McDougall. Chopped down by Wolfgram.
Oh, come on, Simon, I want you there.
Forrester. Dawn. Short pass for Hopawate on the angle. Standing in the tackle of 3 of the Raiders and called on now to play it. Hopawate, he is a strong man. Brad Kelly. Last tackle now coming up for the Eagles. On the short side, away to Forrester going for the line. He was able just to flip a little pass away, which went into the hands of Albert Torrens, and he scored. Oh, terrific work. I thought he was going to get over himself, Forrester. At the last moment, he realised he couldn't, and the short pass taken by Albert Torrens, and that you would think is just about the match winner.
Could well be, John, but it was very well read. Go to the blind side, attack 2-on-1. The defence certainly was holding back. Very flat pass, I've got to say about that one there, but very well read. Once again, young Randall becoming involved.
Very much so. He's showing some mature head on his shoulders, going a short blind. There's something a lot of players wouldn't attempt to do, but I thought he may have held onto that ball a little bit too long, but got a wonderful little ball there to Albert Torrens, and that's a great start to the Northern Eagles, just the start that Coach Peter Sharp was looking for.
Albert Torrens, the try scorer for the Eagles, makes it 22 points to 0. Simon Wolford laying down the law in the in goal as Jason Ferris with a difficult kick from right on touch.
I think he deserves a bigger round of applause.
He's landed 3 out of 3 so far tonight, Jason Ferris. This certainly, though, his most difficult kick of the evening. Strikes it well. It's on target if it's got the legs. It certainly has. Terrific kick, Jason Ferris. Take a bow. 4 out of 4. And 24 points to 0. The Eagles lead the Raiders.
Here's this kick again. A wonderful kick. And Wally, I don't know, I just noticed that the kicking display from these players these days is just unbelievable. The percentage rates as far as the amount of times they get these goals is unbelievable.
Yeah, you can just imagine, Glenn, the amount of time that the goal kickers are required to put in. Gee, they put in half a week training just with their teammates, and then to be expected to go out and try for the 2-pointers. I think you can see kicks like that. Well, they're the real reward for the time that they spend in the paddock.
Lenny Beckett makes a dart out of dummy half and reaches his own 20. So 24 to 0 as Janson King makes another 8 metres. Randall takes it down the blind side from dummy half. Tackled is Lenny Beckett. Ferris, wide pass for Stephen Menzies in centre field. Now he shuffles it on to Hopawate. He'll try and smash his way through. Does well to unload to Menzies. Flick pass to Torrens. Great pass by Menzies. Torrens kicks ahead. It's come off Shiftovsky. It's still loose on the ground. Towed ahead by Kelly. Now the referee calls it up.
Affected play to scrum up here. Yes, you're losing feet.
Be a Northern Eagles loosened feed. It's come off the referee, and therefore the attacking side gets the feed.
Who did the ball come off last?
Sorry, mate, I affected play.
We'll see that as it gets slowed down a little bit, but very good work from Torrens. Yeah, it came off Kelly. He was the last man to make contact, and then it went on. Oh, gee. Throw them all in the hat.
In you go.
Well, that's the rule. If it touches the referee, the attacking side gets the loose head and feed, and Steve Menzies is tackled just 8 from the line. Hopawate goes across for you, looks for a runner, on to Ferris, steps off the left foot, unloads back to Williamson. Recovered from that knock just before half-time, Luke Williamson. Hopawate comes back to the right-hand side. Hopper looks for a runner, gives it away. That was forward.
Forward pass, John.
Forward it was to Steve Menzies. Just mistimed the run.
Forward, sir.
Geez, I tell you what, John, watching the First Division there earlier on, we saw Cliff Lyons sitting on the sideline. I think that, oh no, it was John Hopawate. For a minute there, I thought Cliffy Lyons had put on the boots again.
In you go.
The Raiders work this scrum. The 10 out from their own line. Phil Graham is first tackled.
Leave it alone. Wait there, wait.
So the easy way for Canberra to come out of their own territory on the back of a penalty as Brett Finch kicks for touch and finds it on the eastern side. Just short of halfway. Ryan O'Hara, punishing run by O'Hara, but it was a good tackle on him. He was hit by Randall and King. Luke DeVico playing the ball. Back it goes for Simon Wolford. Unloads to Finch.
Stand up.
Wolford once more. Up the centre goes Luke DeVico. No one with him though, and he's 22 metres out. Finch inside to Chifkovsky. Now given away by Wolford to Croker. Jason Croker has a run. Still going Croker. He's 5 metres from the line. Held on to. From Wolford. Given away to McLinden. Wide it goes to Finch. He kicks into the in goal. Too deep. Over the dead ball line. Back out to the 20 for the Eagles restart.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake there on that occasion. Poor control with that kick by Brett Finch. But it's been some of the mistakes that have really cost Canberra any chance in this match. Of course, there was some terrific work with the missed tackles and line bracing. You can just see those. The Eagles 7-1. Very difficult to expect that. Controlling the football perfectly. The missed tackles, of course, from 20-7. I think when you get stats like that alongside each other, you can only expect that one team would be controlling the football.
Tyron Smith making a break after Steve Menzies lost the ball, turned over possession to the Raiders. They're up on the 30. Here goes Monaghan. He makes 10 metres.
Straight markers.
From Wolford to Croker. Now back to DeVico, coming in on the angle. Pushes the pass. Picked up though by the Eagles. Diving on it is Chad Randall. King. Outside his own 20, Janson King.
Brett Finch.
Nick Kosef. Had a good first half, Nick Kosef. Certainly did plenty of work. He would be very happy, I'm sure, to not only be back on the paddock, but be in a side that's leading by 24 points to nil as the Eagles are. Here's Torrens.
I guess the other encouraging thing for Nick Kosef is he's not got any strapping on his knees whatsoever.
That's true.
So he's obviously got full confidence in the knee holding up.
Yeah, but great to have him back, Nick Kosef. Player who's played some, I think, 8 State of Origin games, 10 Test matches for Australia, but has had 4 knee reconstructions, and you just have to bow to him to have had the perseverance to keep saying it's not going to beat me, I'm going to come back.
Yeah, he certainly needs to be congratulated. Now, Wally, for a guy that had a wonderful kicking game in his day, what do you reckon of that kick? The old banana kick is coming into vogue, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you can just see what Johnsy does to the popularity of a kick. Yeah, strange, different eras, you use different kicking games, but really the way you're seeing that, the way that he's mastered at the moment and controlling it, it is one of the best.
And I really think that the difference between the two sides has been Luke Dawn's kicking game. He's just got that Northern Eagles side into some really good positions with his kicks.
Yeah, he really has kicked well. He's not kicked like a player playing his 3rd first-grade game. As we said earlier, right from the moment he started his first-grade debut, he had confidence and was prepared to back his ability. Here's Todd Payton. He's just inside the Eagles' territory by a few metres. Now to McLinden. His kick, not a well-placed one. It goes straight to Brendan Reeves, and there's the difference. Glenn Lazarus in the 2 kicking games. When Dawn has kicked, he's kicked to open spaces every time.
And the thing is, on the 5th and last for the Northern Eagles, Luke Dawn gets the ball.
Oh, good pass by Hopewade to Torrens. Torrens coming to Chifkovsky. There's no other player in support. Steps around Chifkovsky, but the fullback comes in a desperation tackle and puts him to ground. From Dawn, quickly given away from Kosef and wide to Randall with a long pass. Out wide it goes to Beckett. Beckett charging to within 12 metres of the line. Ferris, Kosef, Menzies. Menzies stepped inside Croker, going for the line. He's over again. Second try of the night for Steve Menzies, 125 for his career, and it's all the Eagles. They lead 28-0.
Well, a wonderful break, opening an opportunity. Clinton Schifosky temporarily stopped the rot with a very good tackle, but it was a wonderful offload that presented the opportunity. A charge up the sideline. I thought it was very well from Schifosky. He dictated terms. For a moment, it looked like he'd been stepped inside. But at this stage, the Raiders are all trying to get back. A couple of shifts to the right-hand side, a couple of wide passes, really found it. And just have a look at Menzies. He saw that there were a couple of players trying to move up and slide across the football field. One of them, of course, one of the most experienced players in Croker.
Well, he's had this all his life, this wonderful step. He's able to stop, prop, look around and accelerate. And he took 3 guys over the line with him to score that try. About again, we spoke about earlier, the kicking game. The first tackle of that set of 6, it was Brendan Reeves catching the ball on the full. Then it was the wonderful ball skill shown by John Pawadi to send Albert Torrens down the sideline to get them into attacking position. It's the kicking game of the Canberra Raiders that's let them down here tonight.
Jason Ferris with a perfect record tonight, and he keeps that record intact. 5 converted tries, unanswered for the Northern Eagles. 30 points to 0. Cliffy Lyons looking happy. 30-0. Well, I think the rugby league, that be getting in touch with the racing authorities, getting Ray Murray over. They both have to be swabbed, these two sides.
Well, are the Warriors that good? I mean, they've beaten this side by 68 points to 10 last week. And here the Northern Eagles are leading.
Well, we all know
30-0.
Brisbane's a good side, and they were unlucky to get beaten by Brisbane. Amazing game. 30 points to 0. Oh, just straight up the middle. Have a go at this. Janson King away to Stephen Menzies. Here comes 126, is it? It's a foot race, and he's going to be caught, but still got the pass away. Just kept on the fingertips. Back it goes to Janson King. Oh, great try. He deserved it, Janson King. He started it. Stephen Menzies looked as if he'd finish it, but Janson King deservedly gets the try. It's 34-0. It's a carve-up.
And why shouldn't they celebrate? But it was very poor defence coming from Canberra. The man that was charged at was Brett Finch. Usually when you've got your defensive ploys coming from kickoffs, you don't see your halfback right in the middle of the charge. Menzies, well, I think he was just having a spell from the last one. I thought there was a little bit of a doubt about the first pass. This one was perfect from Menzies, but it was just an opportunity for them to line up. Who wanted it?
Oh, one of the best front rowers tries you'll ever see. Not only did he have that determination to break through the line, he's got a fair pace on him too, Wally, I must admit, but then he had, and then he, why wouldn't he smile? And then he had the tenacity to back up Steve Menzies and go over for a wonderful try, one of the best front row tries you'll ever see.
Probably thought, well, if I'm going to break the line, I'm going to claim the try as well. Not too many props have run 100 metres for a try.
The kick is up and over. Well, Terry Randall, he's happy, and why wouldn't he be? Jason King, a junior from the Belrose Eagles, so a local junior, and front rowers. Well, you aren't entitled to do that, lad, so he's probably entitled to make the break initially and then throw his pass, but front rowers aren't entitled then to back up and score.
Well, we saw Mark Turkey up there in North Queensland do exactly the same thing. He didn't end up scoring the try, but just sheer determination to break that line from the very outset. A wonderful try.
Well, Glenn's amazing. Last week they were a record set, their biggest flogging. This week they've taken it again. What a performance from them.
Oh, you can't believe this game. You just cannot believe that scoreline. 36-0, and we're only 3/4 of the way through the game. Biggest previous win for the Northern Eagles, incidentally, was 30 points to 2 when they beat the Sharks back in season 2000. It's now 36-0. And more to come the way they're playing, just playing with so much confidence. Hopawate at dummy half decides he'll have a run. Tried to get away from McLinden. Eventually held on to with the aid of Todd Payton. Luke Dawn. The kick by Dawn put high for Schifosky. Just inside his own territory. Look at the chase, though, coming down from the Eagles.
I was just about to say, John, probably not his best kick of the night, but the chase was very good, very straight line. Glenn Sipkowski had nowhere to go.
Michael Hodgson. Smith. Payton.
3. Sit here and hold.
As David Wesley comes back onto the sideline for the Eagles. Ball lost, dived on by the Northern Eagles. Jason Ferris to play the ball. Kosef.
1. Set from me on the line. Hold. Get off Tyron.
Well, I think that last play, Glenn, really did show that there's a lack of inspiration out there in the football field. Very rarely you would just see Ruben Wiki come up with something like that. They're 36 points to blot at the moment. They've still got 20 minutes to go in the football game.
I guess the unfortunate thing for Canberra is that not every side wear maroon, gold and white jerseys, as do the Broncos. I think that we saw last week what Canberra are capable of doing, but they're certainly not showing that form here tonight.
From Ferris, away to Luke Dawn, unloads his pass, kicked ahead by Torrens. Dropping back for it is Mark McClendon, and McClendon caught by Reeves. Did well to get his pass to Chifkovsky, but again the chase has come down in numbers. Ferris makes the tackle. The missed tackle count, just look at that. 26 missed tackles by Canberra, 7 to the Eagles. The line breaks favouring the Northern Eagles by 10-1.
David. Hold.
Payton. Had Robertson on his outside, but takes the tackle, Todd Payton. Finch onto Croker.
Last one, Luke. Wait, now.
Simon Wolford kicking from dummy half. And this kick will go into the in-goal and stays there. Has to be fielded in the in-goal by Lenny Beckett. Brings it back into the field of play. McDougall.
2 hands off, Mick.
Gets to his own 10. Kosef with a wide pass out to Dawn, dropped by Hopawade, picked up by Jason Croker. Croker's pass on to Graham.
That's 0.
Best chance for quite some time, the Raiders, to put points on the board. Here's Chifkovsky.
1, pick the ball up.
Finch. Wide pass to Ruben Wiki. Back to Finch. He runs it back to the blind side. Now on to Robertson. Fields it infield to Payton. Turned away to Wolford. Now up the middle comes Michael Hodgson. He's 8 metres from the line, Hodgson. Back to the short side to Ruben Wiki. Charges at the line.
3.
But the Eagles' defence that was non-existent last week in New Zealand gets there in numbers to stop Ruben Wiki. Finch, little grubber kick. Lost and goes backwards, not backwards. Picked up by Luke Dawn. He loses it. One of his rare mistakes. Clinton Chifkovsky brings it back. Chifkovsky getting his way up the middle of the ruck. Unloads. Back it comes through McClendon to Finch. Turn back now for Hodgson.
0.
That's the 0 tackle. 8 metres from the line. Payton, Tyron Smith. Had Wolford going up on his inside, but he didn't see him and threw the pass backwards. Had he been able to pick up the running Smith, he would have been over.
2, 3.
Played back by Hodgson. 5 metres out from the line. McClendon, Payton tried to give quick hands out to Wolfgram. He wasn't expecting it. No knock on. Goes back and dives on it. Great defence though by the Eagles. Todd Payton.
Last one.
Final tackle coming up now. Given away by Wolford. On it goes to Clinton Chifkovsky. They can't get through the defence. They've got a kick and it goes over the dead ball line. Take a bow, the Northern Eagles defence. I don't know what Peter Sharp's done in the space of a week, but from 1 week where they get 68 racked up against them, their defence tonight has been absolutely superb.
Well, I think it just proves players don't lose their talent over a week. They certainly can change their attitude in a week, and that's exactly what happened. Northern Eagles went over to New Zealand with a terrible attitude. They've come here ready to play tonight, and it's certainly shown on the scoreboard.
And the Northern Eagles have, in their brief history as firstly the merged club and now playing as the Northern Eagles, have never kept a side to 0. Can they do it tonight? Here's Kafusi.
Get off, Greg.
Almost up to halfway, Mel Kafusi. Dawn. Little kick by Dawn, back into centre field. Clinton Chifovsky tried to get the bounce, coming through after it was Brendan Reeves.
Even though he's facing his own in goal, the ball goes forward, mate. No. Even, it doesn't matter. It comes off your bloke first, into him. Still goes forward. It doesn't matter, mate.
It's tough enough with those sorts of things, but the referee was quite right. As hard as it was, when Shafosky brought the ball back down towards the ground, it did travel towards the try line at the other end of the football field, maybe only some centimetres, but it was quite a correct call.
Brendan Reeves almost scored a moment ago and almost gets through this time. Over the top comes Smith to put him to ground. They're back inside the 20, the Eagles. Torrens runs at Croker, who chops him down. Jamie Goddard looking for a runner, now gives it wide to Ferris, then it goes on to Dawn, back inside to Menzies, now to Ferris. Ferris sees a little opening, flicks a pass which has gone loose on the deck, and eventually it's going to be dived on by Tyron Smith. A Raiders ball just out from their own line.
Unfortunate, there were some magnificent set plays being utilised at the moment by the Northern Eagles, but I think there might be a bit of a message going out from their coach Peter Sharp, despite their total control of the game so far. He doesn't want them to spoil it, going back into non-control of the footy, even if they don't score too many points, as long as they control the football for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and I guess, Wally, after having 68 points scored against you last week, the thing that would be pleasing to the coach would be the fact that the Raiders have got a 0 beside their name, and he certainly wouldn't like to see that change.
On the last tackle and put to ground is Finch, but it draws a penalty.
Hey, leave it. Tripped him out, right? Tackle's on report. You tripped him out.
Mel Kafusi for use of a trip. Well, he's had a mixed bag. Mel Kafusi, he's done the lot.
Well, it's no surprise, is it? I mean, Wolford said about half an hour ago he'd been doing a whole pile of things. That's just one of them.
Wolfgram. Infield he goes to his tackle. Yes, he's made some smashing hit-ups. He's been decked himself. He's now on report for a trip. It's a colourful introduction to the NRL for Mel Kafusi, let me tell you. Croker. Jason Croker gets up to the 10-metre mark and is put to ground. Can they score this time, the Raiders? From McLinden to Wolford, then to Tyron Smith. Pushes his pass to Finch, needs another runner. It went on the deck to Chifovsky, then back to Wolford and on to Payton. Dummies to McLinden and is put over. They're still 8 metres from the line, the Raiders. Wolford uses a little grubber kick, fielded well low by the Northern Eagles, right on their own line. Brendan Reeves saves the day. Official crowd tonight, 5,339, which I think is probably a lot more, not the biggest crowd of all time, but a lot more than many people expected for this game. 5,339 here at North Power Stadium in Gosford.
For Simon away.
It is still their smallest crowd they've had here.
It's a knock on.
Not many were prepared to back a record low. And not many would have been prepared to back a scoreline that reads 36-0 to the Northern Eagles. One of the greatest turnarounds in rugby league history, it has to be.
Well, it certainly does, John, and I guess Peter Sharp, the coach of the Northern Eagles, will be just hoping now that the boys don't shut up shop. They continually do what they've been doing, and that is getting their sets of 6 completed and getting down the other end and making Canberra come out of their own end. Things like knock-ons from dummy half and throwing loose passes certainly isn't going to make him a happy man.
Albert away. Hold.
Dummy half is McLinden. Now to Hodgson. Michael Hodgson, almost up to the 20.
No, that's all right, Steve.
Smith. Showing it both ways, Tyron Smith. Then takes the tackle of Menzies. Finch to the line. Then on to McLinden, to Croker. Did well to take that, Jason Croker. Finch again. Shows it. Throws a little dummy. Then looks for a runner in Ruben Wiki, and he's in. Ruben Wiki gets the Raiders on the board. 10.5 minutes from full time to make it 36-4.
Yeah, and I know that the game might be all over at this stage, but it's still very encouraging for the Raiders to be able to get a try. And this one was containing plenty of skill, I can tell you. Finch got the ball. That was a lovely dummy. Just threw it up into mid-air and then took control of it again. Took Wesley right out of the line and a lovely angle back on the inside. You'll see exactly why this bloke played test football.
Exactly right, and a great run there by Ruben. And even though Steve Menzies is one of the quickest back rows going around, he just wasn't able to get there in time. A try scored off the back of a mistake made by the Northern Eagles deep in their own end.
Their leading try scorer for the season with 4 tries, Ruben Wiki. And now Clinton Chifovsky will have the attempted conversion. Interestingly, the Queensland selectors will name their squad on Monday for the upcoming State of Origin series. Doesn't mean, of course, that if you're not in the squad, you can't be in the side. Alan Langer wasn't in the squad last year. But I think this man will not only be in the squad, I think he'll be in the first Queensland side. There's a place to be filled on the wing, left by Wendell Saylor. I think some of the selectors would like him there to take, particularly in goal kicking, some of the pressure off Darren Lockyer. So my tip would be, I think he might get his first maroon jersey. Kick by Clinton Chifovsky is there. He was, of course, called into the Queensland Origin squad last year when there was doubt over Darren Lockyer's fitness coming into the final Origin game. But Lockyer was fit and played. But I think Chifovsky could well be in the Queensland side for game 1 this year. 36-8 it is in favour of the Eagles.
His form certainly warrants selection, and I'm sure you wouldn't get too many arguments if he was named in the 17. Don't know about a wing spot, but certainly on the bench coming on, he can fill quite a few positions, but I guess we'll wait and see.
Away you go, Brendan. He's out the back.
Brendan Reeves to take the restart. Luke DeVico.
Off, Jason.
Tackle just inside his own 20, the big man.
He's had a very
scorer, Ruben Wiki.
He's had a very good game tonight too, John. He probably hasn't played as many minutes as what he'd like, but that'll certainly come. What he has done is he's given this Raiders side some go forward when he's out there. He looks as though he's over the knee injury.
2 in the tackle, mate.
And that's only good news for the Raiders.
2 in the tackle.
I guess a positive coming out of a very big negative tonight.
Yes, and they could well be a club in the news, we believe, this coming week. The Canberra Raiders, it does look as though they will be sold by News Limited, and certainly may be some administration changes coming up for the Canberra Raiders. DeVico again puts on the power and gets up inside the 30. McClendon. Wide it goes through Finch, onto Croker. Croker gives his pass to Evans, then on to Robertson. Michael Robertson thought he saw a break. Good defence, though, in cover by lock forward Steve Menzies. Finch grubbers ahead for Wolford to chase. Goes back to Brendan Reeves, loses it in the in goal.
You're already in goal before you threw it.
Call back by Tony Archer for the goal line dropout.
Well, the Raiders have tried to do that on a number of occasions tonight. The difference between that one coming off and giving Canberra a repeat set of 6 is that Simon Wolford communicated with the kicker. I think it was Brett Finch. They both knew what they were doing, and they were able to capitalise on that.
Brendan Reeves takes the drop out. Not that deep. It'll be fielded by the Raiders, and they'll bring it back on tackle number 1 to just 30 metres out from the line. Evans did well to unload his pass back to Luke DeVico.
Drops it.
Lost the ball, Luke DeVico.
Don't yell in the face. Settle down.
Tony Archer just spotting a little knock on by Luke DeVico. And here it is again. Yeah, just lost. Trapped by those big thighs of his, but not before referee Tony Archer spotted it.
Up here, Jace. Let's go.
Northern Eagles scrum win. As we come towards the last 5 minutes of the game, with the Eagles, just an unbelievable turnaround in the space of a week from an almighty caning in New Zealand by 68-10 to now be leading by 36-6. Lost ball by the Eagles, just getting a little scrappy now for both sides, knowing that this game is over as far as who's going to win is concerned, and DeVico plays the ball to Wolford. Now it goes on to Ruben Wiki.
That's one.
Finch tried an inside pass to McLinden. He couldn't take it.
0. Get off, Ruben.
0 tackle coming up for the Eagles as Nick Kosef gets to his feet and plays the ball. Here's Kafusi.
1.
Left Tyron Smith in his wake as he went through, just crashed through Tyron Smith. He's up to his feet now and okay. Here's Albert Torrens. Torrens taken by Wolfgram and Smith. Dawn. Saw a half gap Luke Dawn. Couldn't get through it though. Tackle was made on him by Michael Hodgson. From Reeves to Menzies. Steve Menzies. Thrown to ground by Brett Finch. Goddard goes from dummy half and kicks, hoping for Torrens to chase. Up the middle comes Brad Kelly. It'll be fielded though by Philip Graham. Graham runs it back and a great turn of speed. Straight up the middle goes Phil Graham. He's being chased by Luke Dawn. This will be a terrific try. Phil Graham from one end of the field to the other gets his first try in the NRL. Haven't had much to cheer about tonight, the Raiders supporters, but that certainly will give them some heart. He's got plenty of pace, Philip Graham, and scores to make it 36-10.
Well, it was a very well-placed kick. We're just about to give Jamie Goddard a little bit of credit. Got into open spaces, but very well wrapped up by Graham. Unfortunately, the thing that didn't go with a good kick was a good chasing team. You can see a lot of the Northern Eagles players just waiting around, and from here it became a sprint to the line. Do your best, see if you can catch me, but unfortunately the Northern Eagles couldn't manage to get there. Impressive speed by Graham because he's also carrying the football. You've got to add another 4 or 5 metres onto the end of that.
Not too many players in their career can be members of the 100-metre club, but Phil Graham does it in only his second NRL match. Comes from Tamworth originally, Phil Graham, but has been up with the Redcliffe club in the Queensland Cup for last season and coming down to join the Raiders this year. Good try, Phil Graham. So 36-10, and just a little bit of an opportunity for the Raiders late in the game to make the scoreboard look somewhat respectable. It was looking horrible for them at 36-0. I guess if Clinton Tchaikovsky converts this try, 36-12 doesn't look that bad. Successfully converted by Clinton Tchaikovsky. 36-12 it is.
Another problem. Sorry, John. I was going to say, coming up for the Raiders, I'll tell you exactly how fast Graham was going on that occasion. One of his teammates was trying to back him up, give some sort of support. When the dash for Cash was on, he made up about 20 metres to give some sort of support and then broke down.
That player is James Evans, who's been a find, I think, for the Raiders this year. He's defended very well. He's played well through the year. Let's hope it isn't a major problem, that injury that's forced him from the field.
Yeah, it looked like he did a calf muscle the way that he stopped.
Luke DeVico knocks on from the kick.
Well, I think that's a fair indication of exactly how the night has been for the Raiders so far. A simple restart.
Whoops.
Straight into the arms and straight through.
So the chance for the Eagles to put some points on to end the game. Inside the last minute, 10 metres out. It comes to Luke Dawn, then on to Albert Torrens. Inside to Hopawade, crashed away from his own player, Brendan Reeves. Now back to Wesley, no knock on, but they have been forced back outside their 20. Well, they were. Wesley loses the ball backwards, picked up there by Goddard. Then into the hands of Janson King, who drops it. So that will take us to full time. I don't think any of the players want this scrum to pack. None of them showing any intention whatsoever of actually putting their head into the scrum. And in fact, most of them now starting to shake hands and say, well done, that will do us. One of the most unbelievable turnarounds in rugby league history. A team that came from 68 to 10 last week in a thrashing against a side that were unlucky to get beaten by the Brisbane Broncos. And the Eagles have won by 36 to 12 after leading 36-0 late in the game. Just an amazing turnaround.